Hello and welcome. Today we are talking all about love. My name is Jody Lynn Craven, founder of Abundance Consciousness, and this is my dear friend Heather Marie, founder of Soulgate.
Welcome to Channel Squared, where we connect with you, the divine, and channel here with you live.
Yeah, amazing. And of course, we're talking about love. It is Valentine's Day, or as I've heard it coined as of lately, Galentine's Day. So we thought this would be perfect to talk all about love. So where do we start with this conversation, Heather?
Well, I think we should start with let's talk about love, right? Love in the context of the word. So when we talk about love, love is so many things. When people look at Valentine's Day or Galentine's Day or whatever day we are using to celebrate love, it's more about romantic love, right?
Yeah,
Or even
relationships.
relationships. But there's a lot more to love than just relationships.
Yeah.
And I think that, jumping into that would be a good place to start, because I don't think that Valentine's Day needs to necessarily mean only the celebration of romantic partnership or relationships. And I think that Valentine's Day's kind of gotten a bad rap, for being a holiday of love and in the romantic relationship sense. And so those people who maybe haven't found their person or people and hasn't, isn't involved in some type of romantic relationship tend to kind of look at Valentine's Day like it's a crap holiday. But the fact is it's a holiday that can be celebrated from the place of love. That's just love. And that can be love of friends. It can be love of your home or your garden or your children, your animals. There's all kinds of things that you can love. And so I think that we should talk about love from the place of love.
Of love. Yes, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think that Valentine's Day has become like the relationship holiday or whatever. It centers around relationships, and in the past, being single for a Valentine's Day or two, a lot of them, I was like, don't go out. Actually, a funny story. I was in this time in my life where I was learning to love myself and learning to date myself. And I had never gone and eaten anywhere by myself. And I decided to do that on Valentine's Day without my cell phone. I put my cell phone in my car and took myself on a date. And it was super awkward when I walked in there and they were like, just for one? Like, just one? Like, it's Valentine's Day. And I'm like, I know, but I'm dating myself today. And that was really hard. I felt really judged in those moments, but there's a lot of things that I learned from that experience. And, loving yourself, just being in the frequency of love changes everything.
I think that's amazing that you did that. That's very bold, brave step to take to do that sort of thing. I find for me, that's uncomfortable. It's super uncomfortable to take yourself on a date like that. So I think that, amazing that you and that you did it on Valentine's Day on top of that. So wow.
Well, go big or go home.
That's so funny. I know how confronting that can be to go out with just yourself and date yourself. And, to do it on Valentine's Day, that's like a double whammy, for real. Yeah. But I think that it brings up a very important part of love and loving, and that is loving yourself. So many times I talk to people and they are all hung up on the fact that they don't have romantic partnership.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they want to know, where's their person? You know, when are they going to meet their person? Right. And the work that I do tends to bring a lot of questions about work, love, family. You know, those are the three big topics, that money sometimes, that come up in conversation. And so when someone's asking me, you know, where's my person? When am I going to meet my person? Like, when am I going to have this romantic love? The first question that I ask is, do you love yourself? Because there's no greater attractor than a woman in love or a man in love, right? When someone
Yeah.
is in love, it attracts everything to them.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have curated your experience by design, perhaps, and you love it, it's going to attract love into your life. So from a romantic partnership perspective, we're talking here, when I met my husband, I loved my life. I loved everything about my life. I loved the work I was doing. I loved the money I was making. I loved the little house I lived in. You know, I played my life in a big way. You know, I was living a big life and I was enjoying every minute of it. And I loved being alone. Like, I
Mm.
loved having that space to create and do whatever it is that I wanted to do. And I just loved me, you know, and I loved hanging out with me, and like hanging out and being alone with myself was totally lovely. And, you know, then, you know, my husband walks into the picture, and there was space for this, right? Because, and it was attractive, you know, he was probably attracted to me, and I just, maybe I'm putting words in his mouth. I don't know, maybe we should ask him sometime, but, you know, I feel like part of the reason that he was attracted to me was that I was perfectly happy and in love with my life and the way that I've created it,
Mm-hmm.
and me, you
Mm-hmm.
know, that I loved me enough to take care of me in a way that made it really clear on what I needed to feel supported and loved and cared for. And when he saw how I lived my life and how I took care of me, it gave him the opportunity to say, can I do that for her also?
Mm.
And if he wasn't in a space or capacity to do that, it would have turned him off,
Yeah.
you know? But he said, no, I'm totally down for that. I
Mm-hmm.
can do that. I can
Yeah.
love her the way that she loves herself.
Mm-hmm.
And so it
I,
stuck and it worked.
yeah. I remember something very similar with my husband, Nate. Just being in a space of choosing to love me and enjoy life. Like I I went through a really bad breakup, and I knew I was the common denominator. So I just went within, like, what makes me happy? What do I love to do? What do I love about myself? And that just made me flourish as a person. And same thing as you and Quinn, you know, when I met Nate, he was attracted to how happy I was, how confident I was, how, you know, it wasn't apparent that anything was missing in my life. It would just be an added bonus to be with somebody that was that happy and that confident and whatever. And so interesting, because a lot of times, for a long time in my life, I felt like until I had that person, there was a big hole in my life. And when I decided to actively fill and release that space of like lack mentality and scarcity mentality, that's when Nate showed up. And like our story of meeting, just like yours and Quinn's, the most random thing, like Nate's ex-girlfriend invited him to a presentation and I was the one presenting. And there we go. And then she said we should go on a date, which was super awkward in front of all of these people. But, you know, it was so magical. He literally walked through my office door. And I think your and Quinn's story is very similar. You guys went to a retreat and he was there.
Yep. Yep. And
Yeah.
the thing is that, you know, I know a lot of people use online dating as a resource to date and meet people. And I think that that's a wonderful tool, but it shouldn't be the only tool in your toolbox, because I feel like it's made it very a complacent process, right? Oh, swipe, swipe, swipe. Oh, this person looks good. Oh, their profile looks good. Okay, I'll give them the time of day and, maybe set up a date, or maybe we'll just hook up, or maybe. And the thing is they don't even know what they want. They're going through this process and they don't even know what it is that they're looking for. And I think that that's another distinctive point, that if you're looking for a romantic partnership, what do you want? I was very clear on what I wanted when I met Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very clear on what I didn't want when I met Quinn. And if I saw any signs to what I didn't want, I would ask specifically about those things.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe it was uncomfortable. I didn't care. I'd much rather rip off the Band-Aid, get it all out in the open, bleed in front of each other, and move on quickly, than to drag it out for 6 months to a year. And then now I'm invested, right? And I've invested time. And then it's like, oh my gosh, I've invested all this time in this person that isn't right for me on so many levels.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that that came from like setting a new standard for yourself because you loved yourself at a new standard or a new height?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because if I didn't love myself in that way, it would have been so easy to fall right back into the old patterns. He's broken, I can fix him, I can save him, I can help him pattern.
He'll change. He'll change his mind. He'll be better.
Exactly. Yeah. One of the things I know that, you and I have both done a lot of work with is the Alison Armstrong work. And, you and I are big advocates for the body of work that she's produced. And, the thing was super fascinating for me was the importance of honest and open communication early on, and that, men are not just big, hairy women. We'll have this always perfect person that lives inside of our head, and we measure everything to her and her standards, but she's not real.
Yeah. She does not exist.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And this goes for any relationship that you have, any human interaction that you're having. You're always wanting to compare that person to that always perfect person that lives inside of your head. And so ladies, I'm talking to you. Guys don't have this always perfect person, but the ladies do.
Yeah.
And guys, if you're, in the dating market, be clear about what it is that you're looking for up front. If you're just looking for, let's, play around relationship, be straight about it from day one.
Yeah. But I have some I guess, love for guys, because I've seen real time, some of my husband's friends, they're young. One guy in particular, super young guy. I think he's like 23, 24, somewhere in there. He's not looking for a love of his life type of relationship. He was literally looking just for some fun and someone to hang out with. And he said that to this woman. I'm not looking for something more, this girl. But she was, 4 or 5 years older than him. And she didn't believe him at all. Like, still does not believe him. And he told her multiple times, I'm not looking for something that's serious. And she was trying to change that. So I think that's something that we have to be mindful of, is that take people at their word when they say they want something or they don't want something, and evaluating whether that's something that you want in your life. Because this is a two-way street. It's not just, I want them to love me so bad. And
100%.
Yeah. And it goes for all of the relationships. Like, there's always common threads in all of our relationships, whether it's relationships with our family, relationships with our friends, relationship with our partner, or spouse. I had a relationship coach before I actually started dating my now husband. And people would like laugh, and he laughed at me like, how do you have a relationship coach when you're not in a relationship? And that's the thing, is I was in relationship. I was in relationship with my parents, with my siblings, with the people that I worked with myself. And what we started working on first was the first male relationship I ever had, which was with my dad. And I have and had at that point a very strong relationship with my dad. But there is some things that happened that set a foundation that I knew altered or distorted my perception of not only myself, but other relationships. And even though, and what it really was that I thought he loved my brother more than he loved me. And I was always trying to like be good enough for my dad. Like, I need to do this, so I'm good enough. I need to do this, so I'm good enough. And never feeling like I was enough. And that was coming from this relationship with him. He never said I wasn't good enough. Never said he wasn't proud of me. It was my perception. And I knew that it was the way that I was actively wanting or had, teed things up for myself as to why I was seeing it this way, and that another perspective existed. But I had to put on, my big girl panties and, say, hey, Dad, when you have time, I'd like to have a really tough conversation with you. And of course, I am bawling for this conversation. I had to be, expose myself, be so incredibly vulnerable and say, I know that this may not be your perspective, or that you maybe didn't even try to hurt my feelings in these ways. But this is how I took this experience. And this is how I took this experience. And because my dad is such a wonderful man, I knew he was going to ask what I needed. And a lot of women, myself included in the past, and even sometimes today, it's a constant question that I'm asking myself is, what do I need? How can I give that to myself? And what do I expect from others that are around me? But my dad asked me, what do you need from me to help you shift this perspective? And the only thing that I needed, and it sounds so silly, and it was so scary to ask for this, which makes it sound even more silly. When I would say, I love you to my dad, he would say, yeah, me too. And to me, that was like, F you. Yeah, whatever. Like, it really hurt my feelings. I don't know why, but it really hurt my feelings. And that was what I had asked him to do, is instead of saying me too, when I say I love you, can you just say I love you back? That's it. It's that simple. And that will help me repattern everything. And of course, because my dad is very, very special, he took it to the nth degree. So now, even to this day, this conversation was 6 years ago, almost 7 years ago. Even though we had that conversation so long ago, from that day forward, he always says, I love you more. And it's now like this joke in our family. My mom is caught on, and my husband is all like, I love you more. Like, makes fun of me and my dad. But it was what I needed. And I guess my point of that is that when you start working on loving yourself and the relationship of loving other people in your life, there's uncomfortable things that you're going to face. And use your words. And if you don't know what you need, that's okay too. This is an opportunity to discover that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that the self-work is the most important in every relationship that you have, because going back to our original conversation of, if you love yourself, you become magnetic to others.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be around love. Even the most crusty curmudgeon will gravitate to a loving experience. And why is that? Because it's the vibration that our souls vibrate to. Pure, unconditional love. So if you think about love from two different contexts, you've got like love that's like you know, you like love your friends, or like you love in like a dating relationship, you know, it's more kind of like lusty and less lovey, you know, and you know, maybe you have like, oh, I really love this sweater, you know, I really love my car, you know, oh, my garden is so adorable, I just love that it so much and how it gives me vegetables, you know, every spring. Okay, like, you know, there's this kind of love.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's that unconditional big love where, you know, maybe it is oftentimes, and I'm not a parent, so I can't speak 100% to this, but I would imagine that this is how it is when you have children. It's like that piece of you is walking around outside of you, and you would mama bear pretty much anything to, you know, protect your child because you love them so much, right? You do
Mm-hmm.
anything for them. So, you know, maybe like love for your child would be that unconditional big love, you know, the love that animals, your pets, are providing to you. That's unconditional love. There's no conditions there. They love you anyway. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
kick them and 5 minutes later they're back over there giving you love, right? They don't like, that's that example of unconditional love. And it's when, you know, if you are in partnership, one partner gets sick and the other one is just like, I'm going to keep them alive. I'm going to help them through this hard time. That's an unconditional love beyond like that, oh, I love this thing. And that comes from a place of knowing yourself and loving yourself and knowing that you are love.
Mm-hmm.
You are love wearing a body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think the depth of love that you allow yourself to experience with yourself is reflected in the depth of love that you will feel in all of those other relationships. I know I used to say a lot, I just reflecting on this as you were speaking, I used to say a lot all the time to a bunch of people, oh, like they're my bestie, oh, they're my bestie, oh, they're my bestie. And I was thinking about this just recently because I was invited somewhere, and I was like, I don't know if I want to go, and you know, whatever, right? And so in mulling over this conversation in my head of whether I wanted to show up or not show up at this place, was, do I really want these relationships anymore? And
Wow.
yeah, and was like, looking back, was the relationship what I thought it was? Was it the depth that I expect in the relationships that I have today? And for me, the answer was no. So the answer was pretty clear after that. You know, I want to spend more time with the people where I have these really deep connections and really deep love. And I feel that time is going so quickly that, you know, I should probably, I would like, actually, not should probably, I would like to spend more time in this deep connection rather than cultivating these less deep connections. I mean, they were good for a period of time, but I'm not into it as much anymore, if that makes sense. I feel bad saying that, but it was a realization that I had, was that my expectation of those around me has changed. And I see that reflected from me internally. The love that I have for myself in this moment is way deeper than it was 5 years ago, 3 years ago, a month ago, even probably.
Yeah, and you know, I think that that also goes to like how you show up in areas of your life. So when you are, you know, in love with yourself, and I know that sounds probably really kind of shallow, but when you love yourself on a deep level where you're going to take care of yourself and you're going to nurture yourself, and you're not putting that responsibility on somebody else to provide that for you, you're taking it on to yourself, and you're like, I am going to love myself so good, and I'm going to take care of myself, and I don't need somebody else to take care of me. I can do that for me because I love myself so much.
Mm-hmm.
You show up differently in your life.
Yeah.
You don't You don't subscribe to, monotonous events that are unfruitful for your experience. You don't just go to things because you're like, oh, I should probably do that because it'd be good for business, or, oh, I should hang out with those people because, oh, maybe we can network, or, you know what I mean? And I see a lot of that, especially in the business community, where the people have friends, but they're not. Let's be real, people. They're not your friends. They are associates, they're business contacts. You use each other to get ahead in business. They're not your friends. Your friends are the ones that you call to see what they're doing right now.
Yeah, because you're curious.
Yeah, like, I wonder what my friend is doing right now. You call them up and you're like, what are you doing? Oh, you're eating something? What are you eating? Tell me all about it. Okay.
Yeah.
Because you just want to spend time with them and be in their energy because you love them. And you love them because you love you. And so you've invited them in to your little lovey, juicy place, right?
Yeah. And I want to touch on something you said. Not the shallow version. And I think that's what you said, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's so funny that our society, we as a society, have manipulated this so much to, if you love yourself, you are shallow and self-centered. I would like to separate those two things, because again, the amount that you are able to love yourself, the depth of love and understanding and compassion you can have for yourself, is the depth that will be mirrored in your external reality. And also another distinction that I want to make is, you said, I don't need anything from outside. I think that this concept of like a independent woman, I don't need no man, has been so distorted to I'm just as good as a man. And that whole thing has been distorted because we're different. We're not supposed to be the same. We have different skills and abilities. And once you recognize that about yourself, is I'm unique as a soul, for one. I am unique as the gender that I am, for two, but I am unique as the person that I am showing up in right now here. And that is special, and that is amazing. And I think you can fill yourself up with love and be good enough to yourself. And then you become attractive to that partner it is that you are seeking, because they see that you are whole from a very grounded, loving, and I don't know, beautiful perspective, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. 1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. Like 8,000 thumbs ups for that, because that is, no truer words have been spoken. Like, if you love yourself and can take care of yourself and provide for yourself and be good to yourself, you are coming from a place of overflow when you meet somebody else. And that person feels supported and nurtured and loved from your overflow. But, look, how many of you that are watching right now have been out on a date and you can feel that person being like, I need that, right? And so they're kind of like
needy,
right?
Trying to suck your soul. Yes.
Exactly. And they're just like, maybe it's that, they're after your financial resources. I think I see this a lot more when it comes to like financial resources. So, you'll be out on a date with someone who's better off than you are financially. And you're like, oh man, I could have a really comfortable life with this person. And so then you're like, oh, I need to like, step up my game so that I can like get this person to like me more. Right. Gross. Like gross. Who cares about what they have? Like, do you like them?
Yeah. Because all of that could change in an instant. How many times has Trump gone bankrupt?
Right.
right? I don't know, like a dozen
Exactly.
times, right?
Exactly.
That things can fade. Also, looks can fade. The way that we look is going to change over time. Uh, All of these things can change. It's at the heart of who you are and who they are. Can you love them? Can you love them for the ages?
Well, and I also believe that, you know, that space, that capacity of love, and that love that you put out and love that you put out for yourself, it gets reflected back to you.
Yeah.
So if you're not in relationships that are nurturing and loving and beautiful, I challenge you to look at yourself. What is your role in that experience, in that exchange? Sure, there are people out there that are just raving assholes.
Yeah,
Okay. And they
absolutely.
feed
Manipulative.
on people.
Yep.
Totally. Absolutely. I am not trying to say that, you know, if you're in an abusive relationship, get out. Okay. What I'm saying is that if you find that you're running into this pattern and you're kind of attracting the same person over and over again in your life, look at yourself and say, what is it in here that I am missing or needing or need to work on so that I can change my reality out here?
Yeah. That's a
Start
beautiful
falling.
question.
Yeah, start falling in love with your life. Start
Mhm.
falling in love with the things around you. Start falling in love with you again. And you're going to see that reflected on the outside with the interactions and relationships that you have.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I think this brings us right back to that, that ego place of like, oh, well, if I'm to recognize how special I am, then I'm, being egocentric or whatever. Place the word in here that you want to place in there. So allow yourself to see that part of your brain that is stopping you from seeing all that is special about you and acknowledging it, because that is a really special place to be. And that's not an ego perspective at all. That is coming from pure love. And I echo what you said, Heather, that it is magnetic for more love. Is there any other tips that you, as we're winding down, any other tips to cultivating that self-love within yourself, within your life, within other relationships that you would give to those watching right now?
So my request from my heart to yours on this lovely Valentine's Day is that you take a moment and appreciate and love the things in your life. And it doesn't have to be romantic partnership. It can be anything. It could be the nail polish on your fingers. Okay. But take a minute and admire, appreciate, and love those things and see how that feels in your heart. And really sink into that feeling, and you'll start to see other things that you love. And as you build this appreciation and love for the various types of things that you can love in your life and the various types of love you can have in your life, you will find that more love is magnetized to you, because love is love, and that's it.
Beautiful. I have nothing to add. I feel like that was a mic drop.
Wonderful. We
Ah,
wish you all an amazing Valentine's Day. Enjoy all the love today.
yeah. And we want to send some love in your direction, like Care Bear stare, some love out to you. I hope that you feel that in your heart and in your soul, that even if we don't know you well, or even if we know you or don't know you or know you a little bit or anywhere in between, that we have the capacity to send you love. And we want to, because we recognize that you are worthy of so much love. Thanks for watching today. If you've enjoyed this episode, make sure that you hit that subscribe button and that you have the notification bell on. And heck, while you're at it, why don't you just hit the like button too and share with 10 of your friends so we can get this lovely message out to the world. We'll see you guys next week. Yeah, see you next week.
Bye.